Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another session where today we have a special guest who will be taking us through personal finance. A good friend of mine, we met a few years back, we connected, and I'm happy to introduce you to one of my friends and also coach, Pauline Kariuki. Karibu sana, how are you doing?
Very well, Daniel. Glad to be in this session, and I look forward to having a great interaction as we discuss a very important aspect of our personal and professional growth. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. So let me ask you, wherever you're joining us, let me know in the comments if you can see us correctly, you can hear us, you can rate it between 1 and 10. 1, the reception is not good, maybe the sound, you can't see us, or 10, we are good to go. I'll also be happy to know where you're joining us from. So feel free to also drop that in the comment. That is the only way I would know that you're there. And then if you have any question in the course of the presentation, always feel free to drop it in the comments. I'll pick it up when we get to the Q&A. I can see already, Stephanie, you're saying we are at a 10, so you can see us, you can hear us correctly. I'm happy to hear that. Stephanie, where are you joining us from? I'll be happy to know that. I can see also Marcy, you're saying we are at a 10. Awesome, awesome. Stephanie joining us in Nairobi. Someone else saying we are at a 10. Oh, good to go, good to go. So before we dive into this conversation of personal finance, maybe I would want to know from you, Pauline, how did you end up in this space talking about personal finance?
All right. I think the journey has been interesting, and would I say that I got in this space by default? Yes and no. But it's because of having very many money challenges, making very many money mistakes, that I found myself in a space where I felt that I needed to work with this journey with other people just to share my experiences and also to be able to support others in growing themselves financially. I also worked in an investment bank for many years, and my day-to-day job was interacting with people, with investors, with clients as they are making their investments, and I got a lot of interest out of that. And I saw, the experience was interesting. There was a lot of learning from the investors themselves, and also learning from the industry and also the organization I was working for. So I love what I do. I love transforming people's lives, and I say transforming one person at a day to become financially literate. Thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic. I think at this point, I will just now let you continue with the today's session, the presentation. I'll be picking up any questions. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'll note them down and then we'll get back to you. Yeah. So let me pull you up there and then.
All right, I think we can pick it up from there. Daniel, are we good to go?
Yes, we are good to go. Sure.
All right. So, like we have introduced the topic of the day, so we'll be learning or, just having a conversation about money. And at the end of this session, we'll have looked at 4 key elements in the personal finance process, and that is just understanding what is financial literacy. Because even as we discuss personal finance, we have to put it into context. And the context to which personal finance falls is in the element of financial literacy. Then we'll be also be looking at our relationship with money, and then how do we create our personal finance goals and actions that we all need to take away with. Money conversations are a bit emotive. By experience, I've come across many people, maybe because of orientation, because of culture, because of our way of growing up. Many people shy away from discussing money. I have interacted with people who say that discussing money is a taboo. I don't know what is the experience that we each have. Is money conversations a taboo in the spaces where you are at? Whether it's from the family setup, from your society, from your, the different communities that you grow up in. And what are these money stories that we grew up hearing? There was, for me, I grew up hearing that money is scarce. It's not available. And growing, I had to make deliberate effort to change that narrative of money is scarce, because what happens with that is it may lead to a money scarcity mindset, which is a very dangerous place to be. I also grew up hearing that money is the source, is a source of evil, all evil. And with time, I was very curious to know what is this evil about money. And I was learning and unlearning. I realized that money is very good. Money is a tool that gives us many options in life, and that just helps us to understand then how do we relate with money. So these are the four elements. There's a lot of perspectives into personal finance, but I have just put a nutshell. I'm sure we'll have other sessions in the future whereby we'll be able to break these down into different elements. So financial literacy. When we hear about financial literacy, what comes into our minds? I would be curious to know, even from the chat, what comes into mind when we hear financial literacy? Is it a difficult jargon? There's a lot of jargon in the financial space. So when financial literacy comes into mind, what really do you think about it? What is the lens you wear when you think about financial literacy? What is the interpretation of your reality as a person regarding financial literacy? So we'll try and pack it in the most simple way, because we are here to discuss money in the most simple form, so that all of us are able to journey this financial literacy journey with ease and with practical understanding, and not from a technical or a jargon perspective. So financial literacy, first is we ask ourselves, what is finance? And finance is any dealings that we have with money. Each day we wake up either to go to work, either as professionals in the places where we are employed, or even to go to the businesses. We are either employees or we are employers. And in all these, we carry out different activities that enable us to get some money. Each day we are saying, hey, pesa, pesa, pesa. So finance is any dealings with the money, whether it is from your own personal money or a business money. What is literacy? Literacy is basically the knowledge or the competence or the skills or the ability that we have in dealing with our money. And therefore, we say that this is the knowledge, the skill, and the confidence, the clarity, the clarity that we have in order to make informed financial decisions. Because financial decisions have to be informed. Informed by what? We should be looking at what informs them. And therefore, this is a very basic foundation and very essential foundation for our journey in relating with our money. And many a times life gives us a lot of, curveballs. We go through many experiences in life, whether sometimes we may experience job losses, our businesses may go down, we may go into debt. Sometimes we have the big elephant that is always in our room, which is a black tax. and that effectively affects how we relate with our money. If it affects how we do our personal financial journey. So the importance of having this foundation of understanding how to manage our money, how to manage the money that we are making, is for us to be able to develop what I call the financial resilience from our mental perspective, so that when life throws us those big ticket curveballs, like those that I have mentioned, then we are able to survive through. Our heads remain above the waters and we do not sink down because of the financial challenges that we may experience, so that we are able to remain financially healthy. Financially healthy, because when we are not financially healthy, what happens? The ripple effect is in every other area of our life, whether it is our mental wellness, whether it is our physical wellness, because sometimes lack of money causes us to experience some physical illnesses. Whether it is our social wellness, whether it is our family wellness, whether it is our, vocational or professional wellness. When life throws us those curveballs, how then do we remain financially well? How do we remain financially healthy to be able to survive through the storms? Like we have said before, that financial literacy isn't just knowing a matter of knowing what you have and knowing your options. It's also knowing how do you plan for your different milestones. For example, as professionals, we are all at different levels in our career journey. So somebody who's just getting into employment, someone who is in mid-level, and somebody who is a seasoned career person. We have different experiences through these different milestones. For someone who is just getting into the career space, maybe it's just knowing how to start saving, and most of the times it's not even about saving, is how do we enjoy this money that we have started earning. Raha here and there we want to enjoy, and we say, it's been a long journey of going through the education system and it's time to reward myself. Somebody who is already in the mid-career, whether from a career perspective or also from a life perspective, you realize that responsibilities start coming in, heavier responsibilities. For those who are family oriented, you start getting families, and that has an impact on your finances. If it is in the seasoned or a senior career person, you're thinking about your retirement and your wealth retirement journey and your financial freedom journey. It's interesting to know that globally, and this is a study that was done back in 2021. I have tried to look for the recent statistics, but I've not found. Maybe if anyone has a recent statistic, can share with us. But statistically, it says that the financial literacy levels, especially in Africa, are very low. In Kenya, we are at about 38%, but I want to believe between 2021 and now, these must have changed, because I have seen a lot of efforts, both locally in East Africa and Africa, and also globally. A lot of people now are discussing financial literacy from all spaces and all generations, especially the younger people. I've seen are very intentional in discussing money. And it was interesting to see that Tanzania is at 40% and South Africa at 42%. So in Kenya, we still have some work to do. And that's why I said, what is your belief system about discussing money? Is money conversations a taboo? Is it something that you say, my money is my money and it's my business? Do you shy away from discussing these financial related conversations because of the different money mindsets that we carry with us? That needs to change. For everybody in this call, we need to change that. We need to be intentional in being deliberate in walking our own financial journey and being, more outspoken and more deliberate in taking up actions that will help us to grow financially and change these statistics. Basically, we say that there are different components in financial literacy. I said we'll put personal finance, planning, and financial health and wellness into a context, and the context is financial literacy. So this is where we look at our earnings, our spending, our saving, our investing, our protection, and there's another element which is the distribution. Distribution is where we are saying at the end of the day, when you leave this world, how do you want your wealth to be like? Do you want to leave generational wealth for your children? Do you want, some people want to leave their wealth to charity? Well, how do you want to distribute? If you maybe died like today, then what would happen to all the money that you've been able to save, the different investments that you have made? So there's the other element of wealth distribution. And why is it important for us to have these financial literacy conversations? We are saying that earning money is not the same as managing money and multiplying money. So in the school of thought, and where I think from where I'm coming from, the school that I went, we were taught a lot about tusome kwa bidii, we work hard, we get a job, and we start earning. But rarely were we taught, after the money comes into your account, what do you do with it? How do you manage that money? How do we multiply that money? How do we protect that money? How do we distribute it? So it was to work hard, go to school, get a job, get the money. And for most people, even the people that I work with in coaching, in financial coaching, I hear them telling me, I was just taught how to make money. It is the same story that I have even with myself. It was just about get a job and start making money. But I had to navigate through that journey of, after getting the money, what do I do with it? And I have found a lot of people, especially young professionals who are getting into the career space. You start making your 100,000, your 50,000, 70,000, whatever amount that is your starting salary, or in your business, the money that has started coming in. Then if you're not well aware and very well informed in order to make good financial discipline, challenges begin from that particular point. We find ourselves overspending. We do life without any budget, without budgeting. We do not even come up with financial plans. Sometimes we may lose ourselves in lifestyle spending. We get into debt, and all sorts of things. So why financial literacy? Because it is important for us. And again, because financial stress is not just about the lack of money, it's the lack of clarity and a lack of a system. So if we don't have that system that is guiding us, and what is a system? A system could be anything as simple as a budget. A budget is what helps us to tell our money where to go. So I'm curious to know if, with everyone in this call, do we all have a budget? And if we do, are we updating our budgets accordingly? Because things change, you may get a pay rise, you may lose your job, your expenses may go up. Are you constantly re-evaluating your budget? Do we have a financial plan? Because that's like the compass. It's like a roadmap that is telling us, I need to go to Mombasa. If I want to go to Mombasa, which direction do I want to, which means of transport do I want to take? Do I want to fly? Do I want to go by SGR? Do I want to go by bus? Do I want to drive down? So it gives you a sense of direction to know which is where, how do you want to achieve the goals that you've set for yourself. So it's not just lack, because we say it is not about the lack of money. It is about how we manage the money. And it doesn't matter how much money we are making, whether you're starting up a career and you're earning, something like a net of 50,000, a net of 30,000, a net of 20, whatever amount, whether you're in the mid-level and your salary is higher, or you're in the higher level income bracket levels, it is not about the money. By experience, interestingly, I have seen some people who earn a lot of money, like even a net of 200,000, but are doing so poorly in their money management. Whereas somebody who is earning a net of 20, 30,000 is even making better financial decision because, and it speaks to, it is not about how much money that you earn. It's about the decisions. It's about the systems that you've set for yourselves. It's about the clarity that you have about managing your money. Again, because money decisions are very expensive, extremely expensive. Bad decisions, we get ourselves into bad loans. Debt is okay if it is used in the right way. There's good debt and bad debt. But if you're always on our phones and taking those quick mobile loans to sort us out because we need to eat out, to fund our lifestyle, that's a bad money decision. Why does it happen? Sometimes it's because of the lack of this financial awareness, financial discipline. And so we keep bleeding. Our financial health becomes very, very expensive. Again, because money quietly shapes our life choices. Yes, we make our life choices depending on how much money we are making. The decisions on where do I live, where do I settle down, what type of investments do I make, when you get into family, which schools do I take. Sometimes it's even making a decision of, do I remain in this job that I'm not happy with, that is toxic, because I can't move out of it. Why can I not move out of it? Because I have not planned for my money. And therefore, if I make a major career decision, it's going to impact me in a big way. So financial literacy is very, very key. It shapes how we make our life choices. Again, because our future self depends on what we do today. If in our 20s, in our 30s, the decisions we make about our money affect us when we're in our 40s and our 50s. For example, if we postpone investing early in our careers, then we lose on the time value of money and we lose on the opportunity of the compounding effect. And we say that compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Why? For example, if you start investing in a money market fund today when you're in your 20s, money market fund average rate is about 10%. And then you lock that for a period of, have in mind future. You say, okay, I want to retire at maybe 60. That is the retirement age at 60. And you start investing at 25 when you start working, or 22 when you open that business, or 20 when you're running that business. When you start investing as little as 100 shillings every day, or every day, that means cumulatively about 33,000 in a month at an interest of 10%. Do the maths and see how much will you have made when you are at 60. Vis-a-vis somebody who realizes, wait a minute, time has gone, and you start investing even in that money market fund when you're in your 35, you're 40, you're 45, and you're almost approaching that. And we say 60 is just a number that is given, but you can retire at any time. You can make the choice to retire at any time. You can be before 60, depending on how you have created your wealth and your financial freedom number, or you can extend even past 60. And there's also another statistic that says that Kenyans retire poor. They're the highest, I think, in is it in East Africa, that they retire the poorest. Why? Because some of us are not able to plan from an early age. So for us, the call I'm making to us is, let's start today. It's never late. If you're just getting into your career, spare 100 shillings every day. Put it in a money market fund. Give yourself a target, or set a goal and a timeline, and say, I am going to invest for the next 25 years or 30 years. 20 years, 25, if you start at 25, then you say at 20 years, at 45, give yourself a goal. Maybe you want to purchase something, or you want to move that money from the money market fund and put it in another investment. The power of compounding is very, very key. And also because money problems, they all spill into every aspect of our life. I think I talked about that. And I'm just curious to know, how well do we manage our money, and how well are you doing in your own money management? In a scale of 1 to 10, how are we doing? I'd be curious to know from the chat. Then, Daniel, do we have anything that we need to check? Daniel?
Muted. Sorry, I think I was muted. Thank you. Let me extend the question. You said they can comment how they rate the financial, or how well do you manage your money? How would you rate it between 1 and 10? I can see already Stephanie is saying she's at a 10, which is super. Thank you very much. I have seen there's some question here, which maybe we can pick it up as people put in the comments how they rate them, how they manage their money. How do you track progress towards your financial goal? That is Chemu asking. As you maybe tackle that, I'll be happy to know how people manage their money. They have started to coming in. Tabitha Moya saying she's at an 8. Awesome. Linda is at a 7. You can see Cecily saying about 8.5. Doing well. Okay. Okay, keep them coming. Would you want to tackle this now, or we wait towards the end as we pick all the questions?
We can pick all the questions together.
Sawa sawa. So
Yeah.
keep on dropping in your comments. I can see Mercy saying she's at a 6. Isaiah Otiero saying he's at a 9. Who else? I would want to see if there's anyone following through on LinkedIn. You can comment. That is the only way I can know you're there. On Instagram, if you comment, I will check it out. I can see Domo Steven is there, Trison, Cecily, Winner. Keep them coming. Hey, Josephine needs help. I can see she's saying she's at a 2. Yeah, I think they will keep on coming. Now you have a feel of what the people have to say.
Yeah, right. I think we are doing very well. On average, I've had 8, 9, 6, 5. So I think we can average that to maybe around 6 thereabout, which is quite good, apart from one who has said 2. But as we continue, we will get to hear where most of the people are. This is what I was speaking into, just being able to align these. And since most of us are well aligned with this, I think the emphasis here would be just to always remember that personal finance is a life skill. As we are building ourselves professionally, in with equipping ourselves with professional skills, let's also remember that personal finance is a life skill, because it's about the daily choices that we make. Just checking what are those small leaks that we may be having in our budgets. How can we tighten them? Checking as we are tracking our expenditure, because that is very key. Tracking our daily, our monthly expenditure, and asking ourselves, if you have maybe, for example, subscriptions that you have made, are they all necessary? Or maybe can you do away with that and take that money and fix it maybe in maybe even a money market fund, or put it in building your emergency fund or your sinking fund. What are those also small wins that we make each day if we set ourselves a target to achieve a financial goal? When we achieve that, it's good to always celebrate ourselves. It's about our behaviors, our disciplines, the delayed gratification. Like if you really, really want to get something, what I do is I practice the 24-hour rule, where I ask myself, I'll check with me if I still need this item or this thing or to do what I want after 24 hours. If the desire is not there and it's already gone, then I will take that money that maybe I wanted to use and put it somewhere else. I think one of my behaviors that I've had to unlearn, which is an impulse behavior, is buying shoes. I buy a lot of shoes and I buy a lot of handbags. So I'm disciplining myself not to. I have done a lot of work to unlearn that, and I would say that I've made progress. So what do I do when I get the urge or when I pass somewhere and I see an interesting shoe? I ask myself, is it necessary? Do I need, what am I trying to satisfy within me? And I say, I'll take another 24 hours to see whether I still need that desire, because I can only have too many pairs of shoes with me, and I already have too many of them. So the thought that I wanted to use this particular amount of money to buy these, which was impulse. If it was some free money that I had left somewhere, then I take it and I feed it into my money market fund. What are the values? One of the key elements that I believe in that also guides me when I'm doing my personal finance goal setting is the values. I keep asking myself, what values do I hold? And I would also want to give the same call to each and every one of us as we are developing our financial plans or our goals. Let's always ask ourselves, what are your values? And I'll be curious to know from the chat, maybe we can share what are the key values that drive us in our financial decisions. It could be whatever values. I will share what my values are after. Maybe we can share what are the values, because once we become value driven, then we are able to make more conscious financial decisions. For example, if a family is a deep rooted value for you, then you get this job that is asking you to work out of town or is asking you to spend a lot more time at your workplace at the expense of your family time, then how does that sit in with you? How does it speak to your goals as you're setting them up? So, what are the different values that guide us in making our financial journey? Then, the systems that we set, automating your savings, automating your investment, paying yourself first. For that, some of us who are in entrepreneurship, paying yourself first is something that comes not too automatic, because we are thinking of the many other things that we have to pay. But paying ourselves first is the first gift that we give to ourselves, because we are also earning, we are also getting our seed, because our income is our seed. So paying yourself first, even when you're in business, is where you get your seed. Then you plant your seed and then you save it, and also you invest it in whatever place. What is the psychology behind how you do your money goals? I think this is something I have already talked about. Money and income is your earning, how you manage money, your cash flow and debt. I think that is one of the biggest challenge that I have encountered during my coaching sessions, people struggling with debt management. And sometimes we find ourselves in debt because of, especially bad debt, not the good debt. Good debt is the one that helps us to grow our income and to grow our revenues and to grow our sales. You can take a debt to go to school, to reskill yourself. And once you reskill yourself, you get a better job. And so that helps you to grow in your income. But the bad debt for consumption, you know, the Talas, the Branch, the Fulizas. When we are doing our financial goal setting during coaching, one of the things we do is asking ourselves, is somebody, when we are doing the triage, because we first do something called a triage. A triage is us just finding out where we are. You know, like when you go to hospital, the first step is to go through the triage, be checked on your pressure, your temperature, and all those other things that you do. So I also do that in coaching. So we do a financial triage and check, where are you at? So if you're in debt, if you have the mshwaris, if you have the fulizas, one of the agreements that we make depending, and this is case by case, is to get out of those mobile loan apps that we are in. Why? Because they are feeding and eating and driving you deep into debt. So it's fast to unlock from that and we free some money. Savings and investments, risk management, we talked about it, is about your money protection. Do we have insurance policies? And which kind of policy do you have to protect? And I know this is a very dicey place about the insurances, but they all serve different purposes. And we keep saying, and there's one I really like and I advocate for it, which is the whole life insurance. I mean, whole life protection. Whole life, which is a form of income protection when you are away, when you're gone out of this world. Then what do you leave for your children? The wealth creation, which is your financial journey and your distribution. This is something that we have talked about, the personal financial ladder. Sometimes you may find somebody is already in, say, for example, in the grow ladder, and you have not sorted out your safety ladder. What do I mean? You're already making investments, but you don't have an emergency fund. And what is the purpose of this emergency fund? Is to be able to help you deal with those life curveballs when they come, the financial shocks. And I'm curious to know, and maybe we can share in the chat box, do we all have an emergency fund? Do we all have an emergency fund? Or are we or have already started taking steps in building an emergency fund? The key goal of an emergency fund is to help us be safe. It's our safety nest when that shock comes in, when those unexpected things happen. The business can go down, you can lose a job, you can get ill, you can get sick. And we have seen nowadays there are a lot of things happening health-wise. A lot of people are getting, those chronic illnesses. And if that happens and you're not able to be active in generating your income, what happens? What happens to us? What happens to our dependents? So an emergency fund and global practices say between 3 to 6 months, we should have an emergency fund that can cover us in the event of an emergency or in the event of a financial shock, 3 months to 6 months. And sometimes you may ask, how about for those of us who have an irregular income? Like we're in business and you're not assured of income, the income that you'll get in the next month. My answer is always an emergency fund is a must, whether you have a regular income or an irregular income. Why? Because when the financial shock comes, it does not come to ask, do you have a regular income or do you have an irregular income? It hits and hits hard in different ways. So it's good that we know where we are in our financial ladder and keep readjusting. If you're already in our investment, in the grow of money ladder, and we do not have and we have a lot of debt, then we need to rethink our investments and first address our debt, and especially if it is bad debt, address that first, so that even when you're making your investments, we are not eating into your investments because of debt, or we will not find ourselves in a place whereby we have to liquidate everything that we have to address the debt. So I am always for the school of thought. Let's follow the ladder. Let's first know our income. How much is coming in? Do we have one income source, or do we have, and I recommend to have more than one. And sometimes some professionals will ask me, my job is so demanding. I am not an entrepreneur. I don't have an entrepreneur mind. Then I'm only depending on my salary. When you say that we need to have more than one income stream, what do I do? So what I recommend, or maybe how we look at it and we unpack it together, because we are saying personal finance is personal to each and every one of, so it has to speak to you as an individual. It doesn't have to uh, fit into the other person's strategy. It's personal to you. So we look at this salary. How much are you making? What can we be able to put aside, regardless of how big or small it is, to be able to help us generate, invest it and help us generate some sort of dividend, some sort of interest, some sort of a capital gain somewhere else, some sort of a profit, so that we are able to have more income coming in. So we focus on growing that income and reducing on our expenses. Can we reduce these expenses? Does it mean maybe moving from where we are staying? Does it mean, cutting on small things like eating out? Does it mean you're carrying lunch and all those kind of things? So re-evaluating that, and the money protection part, and also the estate planning. So this is about financial wellness. We have talked about it, and I'm curious to know, how do you feel about your financial health today? Do you feel like you're surviving? You're in the survival mode? Do you feel like you're stable? Do you feel like you're secure? Do you feel like you're in the growth space, or do you feel like you're in the freedom space? How are we doing? If you are to come to my triage and we do a financial health assessment, what would it speak? What would your financial temperature speak to? Would it speak on, I'm surviving, I'm gasping for air, I am anxious, I don't know what's happening by the 20th of every month, I don't know where my money is? Or would you feel that you're stable and now you want to move into security, you want to move into growth, you want to move into financial freedom? This one we've already talked about it, and as professionals, I know we have different needs depending on where we are at in our career. We had talked about this. Some of us who are just entering into careers, we have some inconsistency, a bit of lack of a structure, and I recommend we get structured from the beginning. Mid-level, I know about the black tax is a big issue. And I keep saying that when we are making our budget, let's factor in, if it is a must do. Remember, financial planning is financial, personal finance is personal to you. So even the black tax, how does it speak to you? And again, it goes back to what I spoke about, family values. If family is one of your values, then budget for black tax and set clear boundaries and say, this is mom, dad, this is what I can give, or brother, sister, this is what I am able to give every month. If anything else comes in between the month, then you have to sort yourself out. Daniel, do we have any questions that we can look at before we go far?
Yes. I love the engagement I am seeing here on the chat. And there's something very interesting that is showing up. I saw Boniface in the rating, he's at a 1. Then someone else came in and said, I am in a mess. And there was somebody saying she's in a survival mode. And just what I'm picking is that probably most of the people who are following us might be having a challenge in one way or another, which might be based on where they're at in terms of their career. I don't know what you would have to say. Oh, I think I lost you. As you come back, I'll be able to maybe ask the question, what would be the best place for these people to start? But anyway, as she comes back, I am happy that you're enjoying the conversation. I can see, Boniface, you're saying no emergency fund, just know about it theoretically. As almost something, having an emergency fund is important. Yeah, saying that. Let me share this as Pauline plans to come back. Yeah, I first was introduced to this concept of a emergency fund, if I'm not wrong, around 2018, 20, was it 20? I think 2017, 2018. Then it was still a theoretical thing for me. I had joined a group called the League of Young Professionals, and I am glad to see some of the members here. I will pick on you, Tabitha. I think I saw you somewhere here. Yeah, Tabitha Boya. She was part of that community. And I think there's a session we had about personal finance. Somebody talked about the emergency fund. I knew about it. It was still theoretical to me, and I didn't know what to do. Then, fast forward, I think 2018, I was invited to another forum. It used to be called FF 254, Financial Freedom 254. And they had started the year previously, and people were sharing their progress in terms of their emergency fund and what they're doing with their personal finances. And I realized that here we have real people who have emergency funds. And at least someone can say, I have saved at least 6 months of my personal expenses. If something happens to my job, to my business, I can survive for the next 6 months. And I went ahead and opened one. I had some money that I had put on just a bank account, a saving account, and I pushed everything to the emergency fund. And I can tell you that was the best decision ever. I think that was 2018 or 2019, 2018. I'm not so sure about the year. And I've been saving money there. It is a money market fund. It has been growing. It has been having the compound interest. I think she talked about that being like the third wonder, the compounding effect, especially when you have money and it is earning interest almost every day. It is working for you, which is way better than putting it in a money market, in a savings account. So for Dominic, I hope with that gives you just some inspiration to take action. It's good to know it theoretically, but it doesn't help you. Yeah. You know, the way they say knowledge is power. I think that statement is half true. Applied knowledge is where the power comes in. You have the knowledge, now apply it. Is that okay? I will wait for Pauline. She can come and talk to us about if someone is entangled in bad debt. Yeah. How do you start? How do you get off it? Yeah. I think I'll leave that. I can see someone else is emergency mode, emergency mode. Yes, okay, I think I'd seen that. Kindly share the recording after. Yes, the recording will be shared. Hopefully you are in our Ascent community. I will post the link there, the link that I have been sharing for you to join the live session, because it is recorded on YouTube. You can always go back and rewatch it. Is that okay? Good stuff. I don't know what has happened. Maybe technology, maybe internet, maybe something has happened on her side, but we will keep waiting. If you have any question, please drop them in the chat. I'll be happy to pick them up and take you through the session. I can see Sarah, you just joined since I am late. Don't worry, the recording will be there. And I think what she has shared so far is quite powerful. Can I know in the chat, as we wait for our guest speaker, what would you say is one of the key takeaways so far? What is that one light bulb moment you have had as Pauline is taking us through this idea of personal finance? There are several things that I picked myself. I can read for you, but I'll be happy if you can drop yours in the comment. Number one, it is not how much you earn. It is all about the decision you make. It's about the mindset you have. You will find someone who is earning very little and still is able to save, is able to even have an emergency fund, unlike someone who is earning a lot. When I was starting off my career, I was earning about 13,000. And one of my goal I had put aside, I said, I want to at least have saved 100,000 in my bank account. Of course, the maths did not add up. How much am I going to be paying for rent, for food, and all that? The good thing, I was living in a rural area. That was in Siaya. And the rent was much affordable. Most of my colleagues would invite me for dinner at their place, and we used to be provided for lunch at the workplace. So the main expense I had was rent and maybe food over the weekend, and maybe one or two of the dinners. I was not able to save the 100,000 by the end of the year. I think it took me about 1 year, 4 months, and I still say I was able to get there. So this idea of it doesn't matter how much you earn, it is how much you keep. It is the decision that you have. It's the mindset you have behind finances that would be very, very important. That money came in and saved me, or it really played a very big part when I moved to Nairobi. I had to pick a house, it was more expensive and all that. So just to highlight here, it is not how much you earn, it is the decision, it's the mindset you have about money. I think I've also picked the idea of the compound interest. Yeah, it is the eighth wonder. Have an emergency fund, it's very important. And how can you be able to make it easier? Automate the saving. For a while, I had a standing order that would take money from my saving account or my salary account to my money market fund, which was my emergency fund, on a specific date. And I think for about 2 years, I was able to automatically save a lot of money until now things started getting hard. I was not able to continue. I stopped the money order. And that, I would say, for that specific period of time, I was able to save a lot just because it was automated. That is why the government taxes you automatically. They don't give you the money, then ask you, can you give us the tax? Why not do that for yourself? Just have it automated. I'll be happy to know if that is something that is applicable to you. And then the idea of paying yourself first. When I read the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I think it is one of those series, in the books in that series, that talked about paying yourself first. I didn't know what it means. But right now, even if you're an employee, you're not running your own business, saving, putting money aside for yourself is paying yourself first. Rather than saving what remains, first plan, save, and then spend what remains. It's another way of looking at it. Okay, let me know what have been your key takeaways from the session so far. Let me check on the comments. How do you advise a couple where one is at higher risk taker, and the other is risk averse money wise? I wish Pauline was here, but I'll tell you this: I'm equally in the same situation. I think I'm the one who is less risk. I don't like taking a lot of risk. I do calculated risk. My wife is on the other side. She's a bit more of risk taker, but it is drawing a line and maybe clearly stating this is the boundary. This is how much you can do by yourself. This is how much. Once it gets beyond this threshold, then we need to make a decision as a couple. Probably that would work, because if everybody is left to their own devices, they will do what works best for them. Yeah. So maybe that is something to consider. I am thinking we'll need to invite Pauline back. Probably her internet or power or something has happened in her on her side. Have an emergency fund account. Yeah, have one. Have one. It's important. Open with money market. Money market is the best way to save it aside as an emergency fund. The eighth wonder of the world, the compounding effect. Saving is not to be confused with investment. Interesting. Look at things. Then there's something that happened. Is it last year? 2024. Yes. I was listening to another podcast by Mel Robbins, and she had invited personal finance coach. And once she was talking, and part of the conversation was that there's something known as oversaving. And I think at that point is what I had done. I had put too much on the saving account, on the emergency fund, where it was no longer working for me. It was oversaving. And so I thought that was an investment, just coming back to this. And yeah, saving is not an investment. The advice from that podcast, I remember, is if you get to a certain threshold, at least you have your 6 month salary or expenses covered, you can use the other money to convert it into a tangible asset. that can be able to generate income for you. Now, that is what we call investment. Thank you, Cecily, for bringing that up. And then we have another one. Age really matters, but one can make quantum leaps once one make up their mind. Yes, age matters and where you are at what season. But I'll tell you this: the most there are two times that are significant. Let's talk about finances, even career or relationships or health, wellness, fitness. There are two times that are very important. One would be 10 years ago. If you could have started saving 10 years ago, if you could have started looking at your health, your wealth 10 years ago, that would be a very important time. And the next important time is now. Yeah, making that decision now. I am 40, I am 50, I am 35, whichever age you are, the most important time for you to make that decision is now. And moving forward, you decide this has not been working for me. Let me change. You might be 60, you might be 50. But once you make that decision, depending where you're at, it will have a very big impact. Pauline, I can see you back. I don't know if you can hear me. Yes, I'm.
Yes.
Good stuff. I believe we can see you, but I'll give you some of the questions that I've had. You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Apologies for that.
No worries, no worries.
Probably what we can do is also we can have another session. We can organize to just have another session at a later date.
For sure, for sure. But there are certain questions that are here. I think you had done a good job. I want to ask the audience, maybe we can borrow 5 or 10 minute max so that we can tackle some of these questions. People are also posting some of the learnings that they have had from the session. Personal finance is key regarding regardless of the amount that you're earning, which is quite good. Please talk about good debt, bad debt more. So interest debt is disguised or trying to put an investment. Okay, we'll come back to that. Let me read this last one here from Tabitha, one of my friends. Yes, I have an emergency fund and be still building under the money market fund. I also learned it from the professional talk hosted by League of Young Professionals and Centonomy too. Yes, I think we were in the same session that time, and first I knew it theoretically. There was a very good question, very interesting question here from Linda. How do you advise a couple where one is a risk taker and the other is risk averse, money wise?
All right. Can you hear me, Daniel?
Yeah, I can hear you. It doesn't matter if we can see if the camera is not working, but just answer. I can hear you.
All right, quite interesting question. And these are dynamics that are common in families, they are common in relationships where you find one person is risk averse and the other one is a risk taker. So this is how we look at it when such comes to my into my space in coaching. Is that first is you normalize that it is okay for you to have the personality that you have. Begin from that fundamentally, it is okay. And what does that help us with? It helps us to address the element of you reduce maybe like blame, because when the person who is a risk taker wants to make a certain decision and you who is not a risk taker, maybe out of fear or for whatever reason that is making you not to be a risk taker, you're not enemies, you're just different in your financial personalities. And therefore, normalizing that is very, very important. Number two is setting out your financial, what I call, we can create financial boundaries into it. Why? So you create different buckets in the specific, maybe it's a financial goal that you're discussing about, and one says, oh, me, I don't want to buy land in place XYZ. Why can't we put this money in a special fund? Or the other person says, no, me, I want to take a risk and buy that one, because from the research I've seen and the places growing up, this coming up from the university,
I guess we lost you. Pauline, are you there? Yeah, sometimes the technology can mess us up. Yeah, and I like this comment from Cecily. This was an excellent conversation. I always wonder why financial literacy is not a compulsory unit in schools and the university. I think it is a high time that we take charge of our own finances and education. And I have that book. Rich Dad Poor Dad was just a mind blowing experience for me. And I'm happy that in our book club this month, we are going through the book of The Psychology of Money. We will have the presentation on Wednesday, 4th of February. Not next week, Wednesday, the other week on Wednesday. So make sure you join in, read the book, share your insights, and yes, let's engage in the group as time goes by. But I'm really happy to see all of you here. As we wait for her maybe to come in, I'll be happy to. I wish she would be back to talk about good debt and bad debt, more so high interest debt in disguise of trying to put on an investment. Let me attempt to answer or give you some insights from my own perspective. I am not a finance expert, but what I have heard or what I've learned about good debt and bad debt is good debt is debt that is able to help you increase your earning potential currently or in the future. So if you take a debt for a business with a chance of the business being a source of income, that's a good debt. Or buying a house, or I don't know, building something. However, bad debt would be categorized one, consumer debt. If you're using credit card, if you're using these Talas and the other mobile apps to actually buy what you're consuming. Fuliza, you go buy, you're buying something and you realize you don't have enough money, so you Fuliza. You are using debt for consumable goods, for your day-to-day expenses. That is not good debt. Yeah, you should think about debt as something that should increase your earning potential or should be a source of income. I'm not saying again, getting debt into debt for starting a business is a good thing. Again, not all businesses will be able to survive and become a source of income. You need to do your own assessment. Uh, Most people also take debt to buy a car. The question is a car an asset or a liability? Is it going to cost you more, or is it going to generate income for you? Yeah. So those are the things that you need to consider from my own perspective. Good debt, bad debt. About these debts that have very high interest in disguise of putting an investment, I don't know if that is about mortgages and those long-term loans that have very high interest. I might not be very clear on that. Hopefully, when we organize the next session, we will have Pauline to come and put some light to that. And yeah, I think that is it. I can see her trying to come back in. We can wait, but in the meantime, can you drop in what has been your key takeaway from this session? What has been the key takeaway from this session so far? How do you track progress towards your financial goal? One of the tools that I have used I currently don't use, but I used it at some point, depending with my finances and where I was at, is having a budget. Yeah, whereby I know this is how much I'm earning, this is how much I am spending, and actually knowing this is my financial goal. This is what I want to achieve. I want to have this amount in terms of saving. I want to be able to clear this debt. I want to be able to buy a certain thing. So you might have different tools, but for you to be able to track progress, identify where you want to go, and what are the small steps that you can do consistently over time. I think we read the book, The Compounding Effect. That was last year, was it November? And the lessons were amazing, amazing. So, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to pause there and we can close it and call it a day. Due to some technical difficulties, we will be able to plan and have Pauline come back. So, in the group, let me know if you would want Pauline to come back and finish up on this conversation. I think it is a very important conversation. And post the questions in the, by the way, in the Career Ascent Career Club. Post your questions there. I think I'll host her inside and she can be able to take up your questions in the group. Is that okay? I think that will be much better off as we plan for the next session. Pauline, have you managed to come back in? Can you hear me?
Yes, Daniel, I can hear you.
Awesome.
Yes, I'm having challenges with the power.
Oh yeah. Sorry about that. But I totally understand. I think what we will do, as you say, we can plan for another session. I will also, I think you're already in the Ascent community. If you can join Ascent Career Club, then people can post their questions there, and then we can continue having this conversation. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Somebody's asking, how do I get into those group? Oh yes, she should come back ASAP, or somebody saying that you should come back. I'm going to give you a number. You can join the WhatsApp community. But I think there's something here. I wasn't so sure how to. I think I just gave my insight. This one question. Please talk about good debt and bad debt. More so, high interest debt in disguise of trying to put an investment.
All right, Daniel. Yes, and I think there was also the other question that I had not finished building on. I can quickly just say the last thing about the setup of a risk averse and a risk taker. So I think maybe one of the other ways you can do is to create a risk limit rule within yourselves as a family system. And what do I mean by this? Both agree that maybe no single income will go above a certain limit. Say you give it 5%, 10%. I have seen that work with some couples. And what you're trying to do is just to create a system. Create a system that will work for the family and the two of you. Have those discussions that any investment above X amount of money, maybe any investment above 100,000, 200,000, 1 million, 10 million, depending on where you are at, must be discussed together. And in this discussing together, we will again agree on, based on this risk limit rule, then how much are we able to take in collectively? So that even if anything turns, anything can go wrong with all sorts of investments. We say that we are not always, very 100% certain that investments will not turn around. But just in case it goes that way, then there's no blame game, that you have made a decision together. Again, if it is about borrowing, if we are borrowing a very high risk ventures, then the high risk spouse cannot go ahead without maybe agreeing together as a couple. Maybe I just wanted to throw that in. And also just doing those monthly or quarterly or daily, depending on how you've set up your system, just to do those reviews and checks so that you are also able to support the one who is risk averse in addressing and diffusing the anxiety that they may be carrying with them, spoken or unspoken, about the investment or the decision that you have made. So always keep doing those check-ins, just checking how well are we doing this month, this decision that we made, how is it faring, how is this particular investment doing, so that you are also supporting the others, that spouse who is risk averse, in diffusing the anxiety and also supporting them in their mental wellness around that particular area. So the other question was about good and bad debt.
Yes.
Say that, read it out again.
Please talk about good debt and bad debt. More
Mhm.
so high interest debt in disguise of putting an investment, trying to put an investment. Yeah.
Okay. I would first look at good debt is always very recommended. Good debt, again, I like that aspect of the high risk. Even when it is a good debt, because we are saying a good debt is one that is helping you to grow, whether it is income or to grow yourself in maybe in skills, like what I had mentioned, you're going back to school so that you upskill yourself and those kind. So look at the interest rates for each and every one of each and every debt that you take. High interest debts should be avoided at all costs where possible. Why? Because high interest debts are the ones that come to eat a lot of, they come to eating into the investments that we have made. And if it is a bad debt, then it's a very costly venture to get into. If it's a good debt, is it necessary? Can it wait? Again, going back to asking yourself, why are we even taking this debt? Is these high interests going to be of any value to the debt that you have got yourself into? Remember also, you can take, instead of having maybe even small high interest debts, very many of them, like especially them I've seen the high interest ones are the mobile loans ones. Consolidate that and go to a circle or go to a bank where you take a long-term debt which has an interest rate that is manageable, other than taking very many small debts. It may be good, maybe you wanted to restock if you're in business, but it is a very high interest debt. It will eat up into even your revenues, it will eat up into your profits. Then again, I'm not of the school of thought of taking debt to make an investment, unless the system that you are using, your financial system, is able to sustain that. So taking a loan to go buy, for example, KPC IPO would not be something I would recommend. Why? Again, you'll be paying a loan and you don't know how this investment will turn to be when it comes now into trading at the NSE, or taking a loan, a high interest debt, to go buy a piece of land which you are not developing at that particular point. So you'll be paying the interest, you'll be paying the loan, and yet the piece of land is not appreciating. Or taking a loan, maybe to a high interest debt loan, to get into any other sort of investment that it is not giving a return, it is not returning at the same rate you are repaying the debt. So I would not recommend for that. So being mindful of the type of debts that we are getting into and how the interest around them looks like.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we close, I think there was a very nice comment, and I would want your take on this. Um, was it this one? Financial freedom is intentional, not accidental. It starts by taking action now, not tomorrow. Thank you, Cecile. There's something she had mentioned about saving and investment. Yeah, eighth one of the world compounding effect. Saving is not to be confused with investment. Especially that last part. I don't know what is your take and how would we differentiate that saving is not to be confused by with investment. You're muted. Pauline, you're muted. I can see
Yes,
you're muted.
absolutely. I agree with that, that saving is not the same as investment. Why?
Mm,
Because when we think about a saving, saving is it's for your stability, it's for your
mm,
safety. It's one that is able to give you, like to meet your short-term needs. And what do I mean by this? Something like an emergency fund is your saving vehicle, or is your saving wallet. Why? Because we said that an emergency fund is your safety nest. So saving serves a different purpose from investment. And what is an investment? An investment is something that is growing. It is something that is helping you achieve your long-term goals. It is something that is helping you beat the inflation. It is something that is helping you build your wealth creation journey. And what do I mean by this? For example, investing in real estate, investing in fixed income funds, investing in special funds, investing in a business or in property. Yes, that is an investment because it's giving you a return. It is giving you a return, and it is also helping you beat the inflation, and it is helping you grow your wealth. So saving basically sometimes may be low risk, low return, and they're just there to help you be stable. Whereas the savings may be high risk, high return, and at times they are, they're not so certain. And so, again, in terms of the time horizon, when you think about a saving, maybe it's a short-term saving, like what we are speaking about, the creating an MMF
mm.
to cater for for your emergency fund needs. Whereas an investment could be a long term. Say you've bought a bond in the market, a 20-year bond or a 15-year bond, or you've taken a special fund like Mansa X or whatever else. There are very many of them in the market. Or you have invested for your retirement, or it is a whole life insurance that you have taken to be able to protect your income, you as the income to protect after you're no longer there. So absolutely, let's always be mindful of differentiating the two. That saving is about protecting yourself or creating a safety nest, while investing is about helping to create in your journey of wealth creation.
Thank you. I've just seen another question I couldn't ignore. Now I'm not going to look at the comments. This will be the last one. We can call it a day. Yeah? This is quite unique. What are the best strategies for managing finances after job loss? And how can one rebuild financial stability moving forward? So here is somebody who has lost maybe their constant or regular income. How would you help them strategies to manage their finances and rebuild and become more stable moving forward?
All right, thank you. And that is one of, those elements we were speaking about, the life curveballs that, we experience here and there. So I think the immediate thing is first to address your, now since the income has been lifted, we need to look at how do we survive. So protecting our liquidity, protecting our cash flow. We don't have a cash flow yet, but whatever that we have with us is about protecting it, because first is about the survival. How do we create our survival strategy at that particular point? One, list all your expenses and review them. If you have a working budget, now go back to that working budget and review every expense that is there and see which one can you readjust and which one can you maybe completely do away with, which one can you able to scale down. Number two, I always believe that beyond the jobs that we hold, sometimes we have a skill that we have. Let's start, in as much as we are trying to survive, also evaluating and say, do I have a skill that I can quickly be able to monetize even as I look for a new job. So come up with maybe a 60-90 day plan to see how to protect your liquidity at that point. So if you have loans, whether it is at the bank, whether it is at the circle, whether it is maybe an individual or whatever you are, and you have a loan, start negotiating for the repayment immediately. Wear your gas mask immediately so that you don't lose your oxygen along the way. Remember, cash is oxygen at that particular point. So we need to wear your gas mask. You need to wear your oxygen mask at that point immediately and see what is it that you need to adjust. And that speaks to the importance of the emergency fund, because the emergency fund is what comes to help in this survival period, the 60-90 day system that you've created. The emergency fund comes to support that. So emergency fund is a must for all of us to have. Whether you are a high earner or a low earner, emergency fund is very, very important for us to help us remain liquid and to help us remain survive in that particular point. So downscale, take up a skill that you have, whatever is in your hands, pick it up and be able to try and see how you can monetize it. Again, protect against those panic decisions that we may make at that particular point. I have seen people go into what we call the get rich quick schemes. So avoid those expensive decisions that we may make because of the panic that has come out. If you have any investment that you can cash out at that particular point, why not? If you have maybe you had a bond, a T-bill, maybe you can cash it out. If it's a bond, I know it is very challenging to do a secondary sale, but it is okay. If it's something that you can be able to cash out and you cut the losses, if it is something that has already made its return, you can cash it out. Remember, it is addressing that financial shock that has come in. How then do you rebuild? Again, I have said, pick a skill that you have, stabilize your monthly expenses, and then to see what you can be able to cover at that particular point, and now start saving once again. There are many others, but those are the quick ones that you can do. Remember also, don't struggle with shame, because sometimes people struggle with shame, and that affects your or impacts your decision making. If it means scaling down, by all means, scale down. Don't be ashamed of. Don't lose your identity because of the loss. It's just a loss, a job loss, but it is not. It does not affect the capacity and capability of who you are as an individual. Do not fear about the future, because it's from the fear that we make some quick, very expensive decisions that come in. So cash first strategy is your cash strategy of readjusting and going into your emergency fund. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate. Dominic Haron, I've seen your question. We might not be able to address it now. Join us on the WhatsApp community. I've seen somebody asking, how do I join the WhatsApp community? We have a community called the Ascent Career Club. And on this community, we are able to help you and support you with one-on-one coaching session when it comes to your career. We have group coaching sessions. We have presentations like this. We have over 20 courses across in leadership, management, and soft skills. We provide continuous job application support, exclusive membership community. This is what we're talking about, and access to the coaching material and support as you do your job application. If you're interested, drop me a message on WhatsApp. This is my number, +254 32 20 97 95. WhatsApp me, call me during the day. WhatsApp me, it's okay, but don't call me at night. This is my personal number. We can get to chat and let you get into the career club, and we support you through your career journey. And this year, we are going to have different experts from different areas. most definitely we'll have Pauline back at some point. And thank you very much, Pauline, for joining us. And thank you, each one of you, for hanging in there long enough, even past our time. We were supposed to stop at 8:30 due to some technical challenges. Here we are. Otherwise, really appreciate. Let's keep talking. Contact me. And until next time, boom, I'm out. Thank you very much. I appreciate.